Very, 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 very huge capitalist. Very anti-socialist, anti-communist.
95% of game developers say that they've crunched or worked overtime.
I don't think that real estate should be an investment vehicle that you just speculate with.
$40,000 for kindergarten a year.
You get paid a lot of fucking money for having a 4-year degree in the United States.
So wait, Destiny, are you a demo? What are you? Are you a demo? You probably pay less taxes as a percentage of your income than any of my assistants.
What do people mean by an ear for jazz? I think that some form of like universal healthcare would probably be a good idea in the United States. So like if you show me a free world where people can freely choose like between different ways to die versus a world where you have little freedom but like you're guaranteed to live, like I would opt for the latter rather than the former. There's so many different fucking answers for why shit is expensive in the United States.
Streamers anyway, like how are you gonna get fucking so many streamers to be on for so long?
I could get 72 people. It's not gonna be 72 like quality people. Like we're just gonna be.
Bro, why are you saying that some of your people are not?
No. I'm just saying like what I mean by quality is like we're gonna just be when you get to a point where you're choosing 72 people, you're just not even thinking about who works well together. You're just fucking putting 72 people on the screen. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have anything.
I think this idea is the same as communism. It works on paper, but it will never work in practice.
Oh shit.
Oh, ouch. Oof.
You think I'm gonna take that bait? Sure, buddy, you're right.
Take it.
Communism,
Take the bait. Fight with him.
Communism, the USSR has failed, guys.
Wait, stand up for it. Hold on, wait a second. Why do you say communism would fail on paper? People would say the same about capitalism during the feudalism era, right? Capitalism didn't work until people tried it. Why do you think the same about communism?
Because communism has never existed in the history of mankind.
Yeah, but neither did capitalism until feudalism ended.
No, come on, don't make the argument.
That is the argument. The argument is
argue
you
with
defend the
Destiny,
status quo.
Nico.
Now, if you defend the status quo, you could use that defense to literally defend any horrible thing for any infinite period of time. No societies exist without slavery, therefore we need slavery to power society until society started to exist without slavery, no?
Communism is a utopian thought that has never actually worked in practice. And I agree with you.
Capitalism is also a utopian thought that was thought to be not worked in practice at all, just like Destiny pointed out during the time of serfdoms and feudalism.
I think that the argument isn't enough. When you attack socialism, you can't just say that it's never worked. Like, I don't think I use this argument either. Like, when you try to attack socialism, say, oh, well, it has never worked or whatever, or it doesn't exist yet, so it can't exist. I don't think that's, like, the best way to go about it. Like, I think you can go through on, like, a point by point and be like, oh, well, how would this work, or how would this work, or whatever. And, like, because nobody can explain it, and because, like, it has been attempted, and it seems like the attempts, like, all lead down at, like, a similar road, like, I think there's a difference. Maybe it's, like, a really small one, but...
Thank you for your debate, Destiny. They make me a raging horny communist.
But the capitalistic ideas are actually work a lot more than the communist ideas. And it's a fact. You can't even argue.
Does anybody argue?
I mean, I'm a capitalist. I agree. I was just trying to have an argument.
With my,
Yeah, like, man, I even say the end here, like, right? Like, I'm a capitalist. I agree. I don't think it's a defense of communism. More of a counter to communism will never work. Yeah, yeah, because like even today, I don't think I would say. I have to be careful because I get pushed into like seemingly extremist positions sometimes. But like even today, I would never make the argument that communism or socialism will never work. It's possible that it can in the future, but like the attempts to do it in the past have obviously failed fucking horrifically. And there are huge problems that like communists would need to overcome in order for it to be functional, right? I had no idea you were a capitalist back then. I thought you were serious. Of course, now I know. Usually I just like to people... Okay, like I usually just like people to like expand on their thoughts more, or like when I ask questions, it's usually because I'm trying to figure out like, well, what do you think, or why do you think a particular thing? So like for instance, there's a really famous bit I had with JonTron where I asked him like, well, what's wrong with communism? And people think that it's like Destiny's a communist, he loves communists, and it's like, well, no, I was just really curious at this time. Like I brought up like how Nazism was bad because of the intrinsic beliefs of Nazism that certain races are superior to other ones, and you brought up communism as a counterpoint to that. Well, I'm really curious. Well, what's wrong with communism here? Like, what are you talking about when you bring up communism? Like, I just want to know. But no, I'm a very, 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 very huge capitalist. Very anti-socialist, anti-communist, all of that like hypothetical utopian bullshit. But not just on the fact that like, well, it hasn't worked yet, but more just because like even the foundational theory of it is fucking garbo. And there's a whole bunch of fucking problems with the people that call themselves communists or socialists and the way that they want to move forward. Back when Hassan said you two would more or less agree on everything, I thought that was too true, or I thought that was true. Well, like we agree on most policies, but philosophically, I didn't realize that Hassan hides his power level so much because I got like sucked into it like an idiot, just like all the people get sucked into like the crypto fascist memes, right? Like you show up and people talk about like how funny it would be, like Jews fucking run the world and shit, and LOL, like long noses, blah blah blah. And you're like, yeah, I mean it's kind of funny, it's just memes. And then like like a few months into it, you're like, well fuck, hold on, wait, like these are all just memes, right? Like we're all just like memeing with each other, it's just funny shit. Like the Pitbull stuff is like all that's like funny. Right? Like it's just memes. But I didn't realize that people were actually hiding their power levels and were unironically like tankies. Aren't SOCDEM socialists? No, not at all. They're the opposite of socialists. Yeah. Hassan literally saying kill all landlords, bathe the streets with their blood wasn't enough to tip you off. Well, I thought it was memes, right? Because that's what they say. But I mean, that's what crypto fascists say too, right? When they're like, oh, so you think it's just as bad when we say kill a land, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're just memeing. It's just, like, imagine people taking the Mayo site for real. Like, oh, it's all memes. I don't know. I was just naive, I guess.
Rockstar, Epic, Activision, BioWare. There's actually a term for it. It's called crunch.
Crunch.
And it's practically mandatory if you want to work at a major studio, 95% of game developers say that they've crunched or worked overtime, and over 80% of them say that they weren't paid for the extra hours.
Wait, you're Dan, what's up? So this isn't unique to game development. You can probably expand this to the whole art world. How do you deal with an issue like this, where you have a bunch of people that passionately want to work on something that requires some level of expertise to do it, and and they're so passionate about it that they're willing to be like exploited like a motherfucker in order to do it? Like, because the normal answer would be just don't do those jobs, right? That if people weren't so desperate for these jobs, the companies would have to pay more. They wouldn't be able to exploit the workers as hard because the workers wouldn't be so like willing to like throw their lives away on it. But like clearly people are, because they have a passion for it. What is like the solution for something like this?
Well, I mean, you know, the dreamer in you hopes that management's going to set rules, but they rarely do. So,
Well, why the fuck would you though? Like if I ran a company,
so typically you need like a union. You need like employees looking out for other employees, saying even though you really want to do this, you know, we have to stop you from doing it. Essentially, I don't think there's anything besides those.
yeah, and then the union would have to peg their pay on like industry standards or whatever and set up stuff like that. Yeah. You would also have to make it a law so that you couldn't start a company though that works with like non-union members, right?
I don't know exactly how the union rules work, but I know that some companies isn't like joining the union. Like, I don't want to say mandatory, but like
in some industries, I'm pretty sure it is. I think, somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure in some places you have to join the union or else they won't, you're not allowed to be hired or whatever, because people don't want people to like scab or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Something along those lines. So
Destiny, that's a feature, not a bug, that encourages people to take more valuable jobs for the economy. Yeah, so like if we were robots that like were working on like financial inputs and outputs, then that would be true. But the fact is, there are a lot of people that will do shit, that will do like incredibly difficult work that requires a great deal of talent for almost no pay just because they love the work, right? So this is the issue that we run into in the video game world, or like in a lot of the art world for like musicians or artists or whatever, who are willing to do like work that requires like a great level of expertise for almost no pay just because they really enjoy the work. So yeah.
the thing that doesn't make sense to me is like if you look at other typical tech companies in San Francisco, for instance, there's like insane pressure to try and hire away from other companies, and you're always offering perks and all this other shit and saying, hey, you can bring your dog and we have a built-in chef. I don't understand when gaming companies are making this much money. Why it doesn't add up to me that like, oh, we're treating our employees like fucking dog shit and they can't go anywhere. I'm like, well, it's like, dude,
are the companies actually making that much money though?
Seems like they are. I mean, you'd have to look at the stocks, but
well, not just the stocks, but like I'm curious, like are the companies actually like is the actual like profit margin like that high, or like is a lot of this being sunk back into like development and everything?
I mean, I'm sure it depends on which company, but I think as a whole, I think it's massively.
Like I know they make a lot of money. I just don't know if a lot of that is profit or if there are like a lot of costs that eat into that as well.
Well, like pull up Blizzard, I guess. Or Activision Blizzard. I mean, that's a good example of, you know, someone that does like traditional games like RTSs without maybe a lot of pay to win, but they also have like a fucking Hearthstone in there, you know, when they have a Call of Duty. And if they're profitable, I mean, fuck, dude, any other company should be blowing it up. But it doesn't make sense to me. Like this scuffed Last Minute Tonight you're watching right now, like this guy is saying like, oh yeah, all gaming companies just treat our employees like shit and they can't go anywhere. It's like, dude, I'm pretty sure if you're a decent fucking developer, why the fuck would another company not like come and like do everything they can to get you to go work there? It doesn't make sense. Because
they can because there are so many talented people that will work for nothing in this industry in video games. Like I'm bullshitting a little, but I'm gonna make a guess that it's when it comes to developers for video games, you're probably not looking for fucking Albert Einstein, okay, to like reinvent the wheel. Like a lot of the stuff is like incremental updates on older engines that are just kind of being revamped for like a new generation, and then it's like implementing assets and shit. Like there's not like how many games that come out aren't just kind of like more iterations on previous games. It's not like we're doing like revolutionary coding or shit like outside of like Star Citizen or something for a lot of these games, right? So you probably don't need like the most talented dev in the world. You just need people that, I don't want to say like code monkeys, but like you just need kind of people that can like get projects done. And when it's an industry full of people that are willing to work for dirt cheap, I don't know who would fork out a lot of money. Like, is a really talented dev like really going to bring that much more to the table than just hiring like people that are whatever, that are like pretty good?
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, when I think about it, like a lot of gaming is probably like art, and maybe there's an oversupply of people who can do that job as well. Because it's probably one of the few things that if you're able to do that type of design, it's probably one of the few jobs that you can get to be a career, so to speak. And yeah, actually, like when you have things like Unity out there now, it is maybe a different world than it was like 10 years ago, where like you had to fucking write an engine if you were making a video game. Like now, I think like you could be pretty basic and actually write a game off of one of these other like APIs or something.
No, I don't know. Here's something that I think should be. Here are a couple things that I think should be. I thought about this a little bit more after my conversation with Nico. I don't think that real estate should be an investment vehicle that you just speculate with. Like, if you buy real estate, there should be a penalty attached to not having like renters, like a significant one, like such to like disincentivize the ownership of real estate with no intent to rent. I think that's really toxic. Do you think, or do you disagree with that?
Well, what are you applying that to? Are you applying that to commercial properties, multi-family properties, single-family houses? What?
I would think any property at all. If we look at like real estate is supposed to be built to be occupied generally, right? Unless we're talking like a park or something, right? But like real estate's primary function is hopefully to like house things. So whether it's businesses or multifamily or single family or whatever. But like if somebody like, so like let's say for instance, if there's some city where I can buy a piece of property and just fucking sit on it and do nothing, and that property appreciates at some like good value and I'm making money off of it, I don't think that should ever be good. I think that type of behavior should be disincentivized like a motherfucker.
It's really complicated. So let me give you an example. I'm going to use an Apple store as an example. Let's say you have just plain Jane Main Street in some fucking shit town, and you have the nicest property on the block, and the rent for that whole building is like 10 grand a month or whatever. Sure. And your lease with whoever's in there is coming up, and you have to decide if you want to just kick them out and you're going to go elephant hunting, meaning you're going to try and get an Apple or one of these corporate guys to come in, or if you're going to renew the lease. You think there's a good shot at doing so, you don't renew the lease, but you know that this is a 1 to 2 year process. Should you be penalized in doing that, even though you're trying to improve your business?
I think that type of behavior is okay because your goal is to eventually find a renter. But like if you look at a lot of the stuff going on in Canada right now, like a lot of the like when you look at a lot of those dollars that are being brought back to Canada via like trade deficits with China are literally Chinese people just buying up a ton of real estate and just sitting on it because they don't need to fucking rent it. Because like the whole market, I don't know enough, but it feels like, just on what I read, it feels like the whole market is just people trying to out speculate fuck each other. Where it's like, I'm gonna buy a ton of property, I don't give a fuck if I rent it or not, and I know the price are gonna keep rising because other people here are trying to buy property because they know that other people will try to buy property because it's going to cause the prices to rise. And then you've got a whole bunch of empty houses that nobody's actually using, and it just turns into like these speculation investment vehicles for people that are looking for safe stores of wealth. That seems like a really shit like incentive structure.
Sure. I would say first of all that it's not the majority. In fact, it's the minority. If I would say the vast minority of people who buy properties and do not rent them out. Vast majority of people who buy properties, even in Toronto, which I assume you're talking about, are going to rent the properties. It's probably going to be less than 10%. If that.
Wait, let me check. I'm actually curious what the numbers are because you're right. It actually maybe it's like 1% of property, which doesn't matter. So I wish I had better comparisons for like these numbers. Around 28% of houses currently for sale in Toronto are completely empty. What does that mean, though? I don't know if that's bad. Hold on.
Well, yeah, but you would almost expect that to be the case. If you're selling a house, you would assume that they've moved or something.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I don't know what the point of that number is.
And it's obviously going to be vacant when you buy it anyway. So 100% of
and that's real quick, guys. That's 28% of homes on sale, not 20% of all homes. Canada has twice as many. So this is an article from 2017. So I don't know what the numbers are like now, but apparently Canada has twice as many vacant homes as the U.S. did in like 2006, 2007. Oh no, wait, at 2008. Canada's home vacancy rate is approaching. I don't know what it is now, but in 2016 it was almost 9%.
Now, is this all shit, or is this? I mean, because that does seem really high for Canada.
Yeah, in the U.S. it's a little bit below 2.5% in 2016.
I just can't imagine it's 10%. That's 1 out of every 10
Yeah,
houses in
that sounds
Canada
insane.
is vacant.
Wait, okay, so we're looking for a number called the vacancy rate. What if we can find vacancy rate in Toronto? The lowest vacancy rates in Toronto is 1.1%. Okay, well wait, well then this is. Apartment vacancy rate hits 4-year high in the GTA as condo rents soften to 2.3%. Oh wait, well this makes it sound like way not that big of a problem.
I mean, and also this is probably counting shit that's for sale as well, so it's a little bit like.
With the standard apartment vacancy rate falling for a second year to 2.4%. Wait, what the fuck? Fuck, have I been hoodwinked? Why do people complain about like Chinese people buying up real estate like in Vancouver and Toronto a lot? I feel like I've read this a lot.
Well, they do, and like there's.
But who cares if they're renting it? That's fine.
Yeah, I mean they do, and some don't rent, and some of that can make sense. Like for instance, if they're thinking that they're going to sell it in a year and they don't want to rent or in. I mean, and again, this comes down to rent control as well. If I buy, but hypothetically, let's say my plan is to buy a property. I don't know if Toronto has rent control or Vancouver, but if I buy a property in San Francisco that has rent control, I am heavily discouraged from renting it, because if I rent it, that means if I want to go and sell that in a year, well, tough shit. I can't have that tenant. I can't just ask them to leave because I've sold it at that point. There's a lot of variables to that. The only way for that person to then move in if they buy that property is if they do an owner move-in eviction. They might not even be allowed to do it.
Well, like we looked this up for California, and that wasn't exactly true. You can't just when you sell a property to a new person, I don't think the rent control just disappears all the time. I think this is like a district by, or not district, but there are like different types of rent controls in different areas.
No, sure. That's why I said San Francisco. California now has a statewide rent control, but it's basically unenforceable and useless for everyone but large apartment complexes.
Sure.
So
look up housing prices in downtown Vancouver, Toronto. Housing prices don't mean anything to me. Just because shit gets expensive, so this is where I take like a hard break from lefties. Just because shit gets expensive doesn't mean that that's necessarily bad. You don't deserve to live in the most expensive places in the fucking world. Get the fuck out of here with that stupid fucking shit. The idea that every single person should be able to live in downtown Toronto, downtown LA, downtown San Francisco, that is delusional fucking fantasy to me, and I don't give a fuck about it. It's such a stupid fucking complaint that you think that every single person...
live in downtown LA, Steven. Downtown LA is a shithole.
Really? Well, if we check the rental prices in downtown LA, are they going to agree with that? Are you telling me I could go find apartments in downtown LA for like $200 a month, or?
Yeah, if you live in Skid Row, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So not like I'm pretty sure that place that that Ice Poseidon lived was like fucking four.
Yeah. So vacancy rates actually do matter though, because if you're considering like escrow, like you have a 60 or 90-day escrow, right? So the idea that a house is being sold, is being listed vacant, implies that no one was previously living in it, right? Because who's going to take on an additional rental expenditure while they're listing their personal home for sale, waiting for a 90-day escrow, right?
Are you talking about the fact that like in order for you to move into another home, you would have to be carrying 2 mortgages like that?
Or like, you're paying rent while you're waiting for while your home is being listed on the market. It's not even in escrow, right? It's not in contract. So it seems to imply to me at least that, that house is probably never occupied, or it hasn't been occupied for a long time, right?
Sure.
So, I don't know. There you go.
There's just a tremendous amount of, again, like fear-mongering about this. Oh, Chinese people are buying this shit and they're keeping it vacant, as if that's the reason that, like, shit in Toronto is expensive.
Well, fuck. Well, that's what I heard so much, but now when I look at the vacancy rates, it doesn't look that way.
Yeah, and like, okay, if you got rid of that completely, 2% vacancy, how does that affect the price? I mean, I know it's not 1 for 1, but is that like 2% less in price, or what?
Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about bulldozing every single family unit, like in the LA and Greater Toronto area and shit like that?
Wait, say that again?
How do you feel about bulldozing the fuck out of all like single family homes and shit?
Well, yeah, the problem is you have voters that are doing that. Like, same thing goes for downtown San Francisco. Like, that shit is so stupid. You have so much of the area, so much of San Francisco. If you pull up a zoning map, you'll see that all of it is like zoned for like 3 floors or less. All of it.
Like when I walk around here in Glendale, the average apartment rent in Glendale is it's like $2,700 a month.
Yep.
Average apartment rent, Glendale.
But I mean, you could get a house in Glendale and pay a mortgage for $2,700 too.
No way. What? The houses, the shit houses are like $700,000 or $800,000.
$700,000 is what, like $3,000 for like
what? It's got to be like $5,000 at least, right? $4,000 to $5,000?
No. I don't think so. I mean, my mortgage right now on my house was what, $9,900, and my mortgage is $3,100 a month probably.
You have a $900,000 house and you only pay $3,100 a month.
Wait, what was your fucking down payment, Apple? Is that $500,000?
$700,000.
Yeah,
no. I put down the 20%.
Wait, okay, so you have a mortgage for about $600,000.
Yeah,
it sounds like 700, right? $900,000 house, 200 down.
It's about seven. It was about 700 when I originated it. Yeah.
Okay, so $700,000, and you only pay $3,000 a month.
3.1.
What? I should just buy like a fucking $1 million house. What the fuck? I thought this scaled way differently.
I pay $3,157 a month.
What? You know what? I'll be damned. Fucking, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why the fuck are you renting?
Well,
Well,
so
I don't want to pay closing costs and all that shit and be
know,
tied to a fucking. I don't want to
And
replace
you're paying
anything. Fuck
property
it.
taxes,
Yeah, fuck all that shit.
Yeah.
What is like a good mortgage interest rate today?
3 something.
Like, if my credit score is like
Listen,
750, would I qualify for 3.5?
the big name in California is you can go to First Republic Bank and you can get interest-only mortgage. On anything in a metropolitan area, you can get interest-only mortgage. So that same $3,000 or whatever that Apple's is paying a month right there, you could get that down to like $1,500.
Well, why? What? So you just never pay principal ever?
Yeah, why do you want to be forced to pay it back? You'll pay it back when you're fucking good and ready.
Maybe. Oh, anyway, the point that I was getting at was like the average rent in Glendale is $2,000. So it's $2,574 a month. That's the average rent for an apartment here. You know this area that I'm in, right? Apple is.
Yeah.
I can walk across the street and there's like neighborhoods full of these fucking shit tier single family houses. Why?
Yeah. Well, the situation in Southern California is a lot different than Northern California. There's so much undeveloped, empty land in Southern California. You can't compare it really to San Francisco, where, you know, you have 49 square miles of land and there's like serious like land use issues there. Like the inefficiencies in Southern California are not as severe, or like they exist and they're everywhere, but that's just the nature of Southern California. It's a sprawling metropolitan. It doesn't have, it's not like a condensed, dense metropolitan area like San Francisco is. It's sort of just the nature of how Southern California works. Like, if you look at it, you know, you have strip malls, huge strip malls, giant parking lots, right? There's like inefficient use of land everywhere in Southern California.
It's literally NIMBY. Like, that's the answer to all of this. It's fucking people who vote wanting their property to go up because there's not as much.
Yeah, and I don't want like if I'm living in I live in Pasadena, right? Single family houses everywhere. I don't want condos to go up because it's going to affect my housing price.
Yeah, I know. That's why homeowners need to fuck off when it comes to like zoning shit.
Nah.
Well, that's like, but that's like that Prop 13 shit. Like, I feel like homeowners are this is why when people ask me about socialism, like workers voting, I'm like, fuck workers, dude, fuck that shit. This shit needs to be planned by the goddamn fucking government. I don't want fucking property owners to vote on whether or not we should pay fucking property taxes like Prop 13, or whether or not like more property should be zoned, because these motherfuckers are always gonna vote against it because they want to make more fucking money.
No, these motherfuckers in Pasadena just passed a new fucking ordinance where I have to pay more property tax.
Good, fuck you. Like, I don't know, dude. I feel like this is why I think that like
liberals, okay.
This is why like Americans like viewing homes as like stores of wealth is so fucking cancerous. Like, I expect you to act that way, but like if your main like wealth vehicle is your fucking house, then of course you're incentivized like a motherfucker to never vote for anything that's gonna like damage the housing prices.
Can we fucking slow our roll? First off, I want to explain that first of all, you're talking about single family, I assume. Okay, single family, I agree. Owning your house should not be used as that. However, other forms of real estate can. Okay.
Yeah, that's way different.
Now we're talking about investment property.
Well, no. But investment property is different because you're actually talking about like revenue generating shit that you're like not living in, right? This is a different type of thing.
Yeah, or commercial properties and things like that. Well, like the main argument. Listen, the main argument that everyone gives against real estate across the board is like, oh, well, with stocks or derivatives or everything else, I know the value and I can sell it tomorrow. Great. Is that one thing, that one ability that you can sell your assets tomorrow? If that drives everything, fantastic. I'm glad that works for you. With real estate, the advantages you get over stock are absolutely massive.
This is but there's okay. No one here is going to disagree with you. You're arguing against nobody. But there's a huge difference between real estate and buying a big house. You understand that, right?
Well, no. Even personal ownership of a house can have massive things if you catch things on the upswing. You have a $500,000 deduction if you buy a single-family house and it goes up in value. Tell me with stocks that I can buy something for $100,000.
Yeah, but the people that are positioning themselves to buy those assets aren't in a financial position where they can actually absorb the volatility of those purchases, right? Like, this would be the equivalent of me telling one person to invest their life savings into like a certain stock.
Okay,
it's like trading on margin versus
it's about being professional versus amateur. Okay, I could say the same thing for someone who buys stock. Some fucking moron who goes out there and spends $100,000. I'd expect him to lose a lot of it.
But you would say the exact same thing for anybody buying a stock. If somebody says like, "Oh, I've got $100,000. Which stocks should I buy?" Then you'd say, "Don't buy fucking stocks. Invest in broader, safer shit because you're gonna lose all your fucking money 100%." But when it comes to houses, hey, I've got like $200,000, dude. Leverage that fucking 200K. Basically, like what Apple said, trade on margin, take $1 million fucking dollar house. Like, oh shit, better hope that asset doesn't depreciate because you're gonna be ultra fucked. People give advice for buying houses that they would never give for trading any other type of like asset. It's like insane.
That's definitely true. You have to be
so
professional.
another piece when it comes to home ownership, though, like it's sort of tied to American idealism,
which
like,
is dumb as
fuck. You
fuck.
can trace it to like it's really fucking dumb. It's part of the reason why we have the financial crisis, right? Just the idea that every person in the U.S. should
own a
have their
home.
own
It's like the American dream.
Blah, 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 the American
homes.
dream. Extortionary interest rates, predatory lending, et cetera, et cetera. Like it's all tied to this vision of how America should work. Like I guess it started in the I don't know when the fuck it started. I guess it started in the frontier days, but like after World War II, they really propagated that crazy
Well,
with
there's
the whole
probably some
movement to suburban areas and all that shit. So I don't know.
There's probably some governmental planning reasoning, or I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure it's there for wanting to have more Americans buy homes. I'm sure it has some, like the government, like they care about
property
having
taxes.
More... No, it's not property taxes. Like the government cares about you having kids. Like they want you to have more.
You can have kids without having like other countries figure out how to have kids without every single person having to own a fucking home.
No, I know, but I'm saying there's probably some sort of government planning reason that they want to have.
I think it's just some American exceptionalist bullshit.
Yeah, I think it's exceptional. Your home is your castle, all that bullshit. I don't know.
Sure.
What's up, Nico? What do you want to say?
How are you, man? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, no. I mean, just going on what you were saying about like people that trade on margin, right? So having a 2-to-1 leverage on a position that you could literally have a stop loss any second is very different than having a 10-to-1 leverage on something that when you need to sell, there are not going to be any buyers. And that I mean,
well,
like I could.
There's always a buyer for a house. You might just have to sell it at fucking 5% of the fucking price you bought it for.
Stop. Wait. That's my point.
Yeah, I know. I'm being facetious, but yeah.
You know, the bid and ask on a stock, on a bond, on whatever, right? It's very different than the bid and ask on a real estate asset doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you know, like I just think that like I could make a I could give you a spreadsheet and make a mathematical case why renting is actually more beneficial than owning a home today.
Nico, that's so stupid. You could say that for some markets, but not all markets. It totally depends where you're going. How can you say that, bro?
Well, I'm not saying it. I could literally produce numbers, and I could produce, you know, today renting is actually more beneficial than owning a home.
I think that there are probably some circumstances where owning the home can be beneficial, but I think for most circumstances, I think I would probably agree.
Wait, who doesn't agree?
I don't agree. I think I think some jurisdictions it's definitely better to rent. I think a lot depends on, are you going to be there? How long are you going to be there? Are you going to be there for 2 years? Then fucking rent. Are you going to be there for 10 years? You know, you might want to own at that point. What's the appreciation level in the city going to be? If I live in a place for 10 years and I'm paying $5,000 a month rent, and at the end of that, I could have had a place and had an extra $1 million, versus what if I take that money and put it in the market, then I think it's probably a pretty good thing that I should have bought a fucking house there if I'm willing to stay in one location.
Your statement is based on the naive version that real estate only goes up over time, and that's a fundamental problem with
yes, and yours is based on the fact of stocks only going up. Yes.
Oh.
No, of course not.
Okay,
Like,
so then we both have some downside.
I'm not saying buy stocks over real estate. I'm saying don't buy real estate and sell short stocks.
Wait.
So you're saying go long on stocks? That implies that
No,
the
go
market's
short.
efficient then.
Wait, no, you can't go short. No, wait, Nico. 99% of
What?
people aren't capable of doing this. This is like some crazy like day trader shit, right?
No, what?
Wait, you think
Shorting
the
stocks, you can lose everything. What are you talking about? You walk like I fuck up and buy a house. If I fuck up, at the end of the day, I have a house that's pretty fucked up, but I still have a house that has some value. You
Okay.
short fucking stocks. At the end of that shit,
You
you
have
have
zero.
fucking nothing.
What do
You
you
can lose money, can't you, with shorting stocks?
if you're doing a
Of
margin?
course you could lose
Yeah,
money.
exactly. If you're
it's
doing margin. Yeah.
But what's what's the point? I mean, you could also lose money, but you could also lose money by owning a home, right?
Well, I think like the general argument is that like if you have an idiot and you can either buy a house or buy stocks, it's probably better to buy the house because there is some underlying asset there that will probably maintain most of its value, save for some catastrophic thing. Whereas if you're literally gambling on stocks or options, like you could risk losing the downside is much greater, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you buy, but again, I'm not making the case of, hey, you should buy equity, you should buy stocks, and not buy real estate. Like I don't want to get confused. I'm just making the case that there is a bubble in the real estate market, there is a bubble in the stock market, so you should not be buying neither at this point. That's my argument.
Now, don't buy anything.
Nope.
Okay. Well,
Nico's under the assumption right now that he thinks that we're coming up to a long-term, like a crash, like a recession or something. So he says keep your money out of like market-related stuff because
then shouldn't you be buying gold then if you really?
No, you shouldn't be buying gold.
If we're coming into a crash, doesn't mean that the dollar is.
The only time you should be buying gold is if you're gonna propose to your fiance and you want to buy her a ring made of gold.
No, no one buys gold rings anymore. That shit has to be platinum, dog.
Oh, damn.
Okay, but my point to you is that gold as a store of value is, I mean, I don't want to throw the word Ponzi scheme, but I will go as far to say that.
I know that gold has no intrinsic value. I'm saying whenever there's a recessionary environment, reactionary idiots always go and buy gold. So if you're proposing that we're in a bubble and that there's going to be some sort of market correction, shouldn't we logically be buying gold?
No, because you just said that the idiots buy gold, and I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, but
you're doing a REM. He's doing a REM move right now. Well, I don't care if people are irrational. I shouldn't go and buy gold. It doesn't matter if people are going to pay.
Wait. What's a REM move? What the hell is that?
That's a guy.
Right now, dude. You're just disregarding the fact that people are going to drive this shit up, dude. It's like, fucking a Democrat becomes president. Fucking price of guns and ammo are going to go up, dog. As the stocks of gun companies can go up. Like, that's reacting to people doing shit. You got to take that into account. That's a real thing. Stupid people, what they do.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's a very risky proposition.
No, it's the least risky thing, like following what stupid people do. Like, that's the way to make money.
Well, to some extent, so what Dan is saying, the formalized version of what Dan is saying is that stock prices incorporate way more than just the actual value of the underlying asset. They also incorporate what people think of, like what the future price of an asset is that somebody think it might be worth. So, for instance, if we're trading like shares of like an Elon Musk company, there's a lot more going on there than just like the underlying fundamental value of the asset. There's also what people think it might be worth in 10 years, which can be largely speculative, right?
Yeah, but then you have to look at the food chain of stock trading, right? The food chain of stock trading is you have very sophisticated usual investors buy first.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have high net worth individuals buying second, and then you have the stupid idiot on the E-Trade account buying last. So if you're saying that you should do the thing, I mean, I agree with what you're saying to one extent, but like you actually.
Oh wait. I'm explaining what Dan is saying. I would never try to trade like this because I'm just a random Joe Schmo, and I would always be in the third group of idiots that's getting in way too fucking late. I know that. I'm not fucking delusional.
Right.
Don't worry. Yeah.
That's 99% of the
yeah,
people.
absolutely.
I mean, and that's why people always, whenever it's a market correction, people always get burned because the last 10% of a market rally, it's literally
Suckers.
people saying, like, oh my God, my 401k is not going up enough. My neighbor is going up more. So I'm going to put everything in equities. Next thing you know, now you have to fucking work 5 extra years because you're a fucking idiot. And I mean, and that's literally the psychology of markets. And I've lived through it so many times, like all the booms and busts. It's always, I always feel so bad for people that I know, like my parents, like I just, they just get like strong arm into buying stocks at the wrong time. But anyways, I mean that's a whole different argument. But so then, are you in finance or what do you do?
No, I'm a tech entrepreneur, but I have some real estate. So that's what my thing comes from owning an apartment complex, basically.
You own an apartment complex, like basically, and then you just rent it out.
Yeah, rentals, yes, in San Francisco.
He's a slumlord. He's
First off,
sugarcoating
I want to crystallize this. First off, this is a new person. It is not a slum. It's a very nice multi-family units.
A roach
okay?
infested.
Hey, Apple's, can you shut the fuck up, you scuffed ass fucking
everywhere.
legal assistant? You know what Apple's real job? He calls himself an attorney. You know what this motherfucker actually does?
He's got
he brings
heroin
fucking
needles
coffees for the
lining
real goddamn
sidewalks,
attorneys and sucks their fucking dick when he's there. He says, "Hey, Apple's, can you come in here? I'm working on the big." Oh, yes, sir, boss. Let me get the fucking lip lube. That's really your job. Anyways, Nico, go ahead.
Why? I'm in-house now. I do my own thing.
Wait, Nico, have you ever heard of Nico? Have you ever heard of Tiny Chat?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever heard of a web thing called Tiny Chat?
No.
Oh, damn, never mind. I'm sorry.
I'm not an internet guy like you guys. I just have to put that out there. I'm not into all the memes and all that stuff. Like, you have to treat me like an old school, because like I'm not in. I don't know what that.
How old are you?
I'm 39.
Okay, it's not that old.
That's pretty fucking old, Dan, and you're getting there. You're real close, Dan. You're over the hill.
I'm not saying I'm old. I'm just saying that I don't spend a lot of time on the internet, so like I'm not familiar with all the internet lingo and stuff like that. Like I'm just like Reddit, all that stuff. I'm not familiar with all that stuff. But I'm 39 years old, and honestly, I feel young like a motherfucker. So how old are you then?
I'm 35.
Oh, you're a kid.
Damn. Dumb.
Wait, Destiny, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Yeah, so you definitely a kid. You have so much to learn, Destiny.
Yeah, every day, dude.
You're like 4 years older than me. Let's slow our roll here.
Right? I know. I'm just fucking around. But listen, if you're 35 and you own a multi-family condo in San Francisco, then I have to give you props.
No, but that's not even what he does. Why do you introduce yourself like that, Dan? Dan here has built multi-million-dollar tech companies and sold them off.
I said I was a tech entrepreneur first. I said because we're talking about real estate.
Yeah, but you realize that everybody calls themselves a fucking tech entrepreneur. Like, I'm a tech entrepreneur. I've got 4 employees in some fucking shitty office in San Francisco working on my new Facebook rival. I'm a tech entrepreneur. Like everybody says that. Your background is like a little bit more impressive than just saying that, right?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Anyways, but like, okay. Back to this real estate thing here, Nico. My only thing is the advantages of real estate. If you're willing to work a little bit, those advantages don't exist in stocks. So there's 2 things you could say here. Either you're going to be lazy fuck and put $100 in the stock market or $100 in real estate. But if you're willing to work, I think real estate's better. And the reasoning for that is the huge advantages that the government gives you to make money there. So as I mentioned before,
like what advantages? They just took them away.
No. They're still there. There's so many there. So the first one is that if you sell that for a gain, if you're married,
tax exchange. I own more real estate than you do. Okay, I know that stuff. Tax exchange. Okay. The problem is this. My problem is that
it's not a tax exchange. It's you have $500,000 of gains that are untaxed. That you can't have that with stocks. And for the average person, they're not going to have. They're not buying $100 million property. They're buying something for $100K or $500K. And if they make $100,000 or $500,000, that's huge fucking money.
What if they lose $100,000? Okay, how about this? Ready?
What if you lose $100,000 in stocks? Well, I don't understand.
Okay. So watch this. Ready? I'm gonna buy Spider. I'm gonna buy the SPY. Okay. I have 50 grand. I'm gonna buy 100 grand worth because I just had margin. Okay, that's perfect, beautiful. You have equity of 50%. Okay, fine. The market goes down 10%. Right now you lose. Okay, you literally just lost 20% because you have 50. Now you only have 40. Right. In your case, you have 100 grand. You buy something for $1 million. Okay, it goes down 10%. Now you just got wiped out.
Wait, first off, you don't get wiped out because the bank doesn't take your house if property values go down.
You have no equity.
You still have equity. What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
You have negative. You have negative equity because
but you're still the owner in the house at that point. It's not like a stock where you're getting called and like, oh well, shit. The value went down. We need to take it back. Like your payments are fixed at a certain amount. Now you can be underwater 100%, especially if you're doing 90% leverage there. But again, you're talking about doing 90% leverage on a house versus 50% on stocks. Of course, if your stocks go down 10%. Versus if you're in your 50% leverage versus a house going down 10%, you're 90%. Yeah, that's a big fucking deal. So why don't we use the same thing? What about if we buy a house for half down and a stock for half down? Then it doesn't matter.
People don't do that.
Okay, well, I mean,
only rich people do that.
Well, I don't understand this argument. You're like saying things that like they don't equate. Well, yeah, no shit. If you buy a house, $1 million house with 100 grand down, if it goes down 100 grand in value, you don't have any money. But if you did the same thing with stocks, it'd be the same thing. I don't understand.
No, it would be very different.
Why?
Because, okay, first of all, okay, people don't put 50% down when they buy a house, right? That I mean, that
You
it just doesn't
can?
happen. Of course you can, but you only. I mean, most people when they buy at least their first home, right? They're leveraging about 50. They either put 10 or 15 or 20% down max.
Okay, that's assuming you're doing a mortgage in the first place. I was talking
Yeah,
about,
of course.
Well, let's just say you have $500,000. I mean, because I don't know why we're doing this. We're involving mortgages when we don't have to. If you have $500,000,
No, you have to.
You don't have to.
Okay.
You can. Wait.
99% of the real estate purchases in the United States are actual have financing arms. Period.
99% have
Yes.
financing.
Yes.
I'm gonna need some stats on that.
Google. I mean, look it up. Google it.
I'm pretty sure I don't have to Google to know that 99% of home purchases are not financed
I know are financed.
or are financed. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't
Our
even know how
finance.
I would find numbers on these.
Well, I found it from Bloomberg. I could send you the link.
Do you think out of every 100 houses that are sold, 99 of them have a mortgage?
Yes. Yes. 100%.
88% of recent buyers finance their home purchase.
Of recent buyers.
Yeah, first-time buyers finance their homes 93%, but this doesn't take into account people who are buying solely for investment properties, right? So I don't know. Like 88% of recent buyers finance their home purchases. This is for 2018. First-time buyers finance 93%. Repeat buyers at 84%. So it's pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine it would be. I mean, if you're buying real estate, you should probably finance. Why would you try to make money off of a property that you can afford when you can leverage when mortgage rates are so preferential, right?
It depends on what it depends on the interest rate, right?
Well, but the interest on mortgages is always going to be like lucrative to like leverage. Like, for instance, let's say I have $100,000. If I get a $100,000 property, I can rent that for what? Maybe $1,000 a month or less. But I could leverage that $100,000, get $1 million property, and rent that motherfucker for what, 5 or 6 or 7K a month? Like whatever the fucking interest is going to be, or maybe like 3 or 4 or 5K. Yeah, whatever the interest is going to be on that $1 million, leveraging in order to like increase the revenue I earn from the property is always going to outpace that interest on a mortgage. It should.
Yeah.
Now, but then there's also a significant downside there because if that value loses value, if the property loses value and I'm underwater on that mortgage, well, now I've leveraged myself and I might get fucked. I might have like a lot of
negative
equity in a property. Yeah. Although the negative equity isn't necessarily a problem if I'm renting the property and I'm generating revenue from it. But I mean, hopefully the asset recovers. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it is a problem because if you have negative equity, chances are you're having problems renting it out. I mean, when you have negative equity, it's like it just spirals out of control. I mean,
well, wait. Just because you have negative equity doesn't necessarily mean you can't rent the property, right? Like,
no.
You're probably not going to be renting it at the prevailing rate you expect.
Probably, yeah, for sure. Yeah, true.
That's what I meant.
Offset your mortgage price.
Exactly.
Possibly.
English is my second language.
Sure. Okay,
so
Hassan.
maybe I'm not what?
I'm just fucking with you. I'm sorry. No.
Wait. Hassan, English is second language?
Yeah, he used that excuse before in an argument. I'm just.
He has no fucking accent.
No, I know. That's why I'm fucking with you. I'm just don't get triggered. I love you. I'm just kidding.
I'm not triggered. I'm not triggered at all.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big compliment. I mean, I'm a stop muffin coming. It's actually that's a big compliment.
Yeah. No, your English is pretty good. But no, I understand. It's the second language. Having a conversation like this in a second language seems like it would be really fucking frustrating. But
you West Coast have it really good. I'm telling you.
Yeah, because this is fucking awesome over here. Fuck East Coast shitters.
I mean,
honestly,
I used to work
I'm
like
seriously
18 hours a
considered
day,
moving
and now
to
I
the West
work
Coast.
like 9.
Wait, where do you live right now? Do you live like in New York or some shit?
I live in Manhattan, dude.
Oh yeah, fuck. Didn't you already say this? I think you did. Fuck that shit.
Well, yeah, but you don't listen to me. Why would you listen to me?
I listen. A lot of people tell me a lot of things. Okay, I'm remembering, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But I live in Manhattan, and honestly, I am dying. Like, put it this way, I'm dying to sell my place and leave.
I miss New York, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you miss New York, but you're in the West Coast because it's actually a better quality of life, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of, cost of living, it's substantially better. It's less dense, which means I get less annoyed by people walking around me and all that. And, tourists staring up at buildings while I'm trying to walk by to get to work.
Where do you live in? You live in San Francisco?
No, I live in LA. I used to live in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. I mean, living in Manhattan, it can be pretty challenging.
Yeah,
especially like when you have kids and they go to school.
Yeah, see, I don't have kids, so I don't have to deal with that.
$40,000 for kindergarten a year.
Wait,
mean,
that's
it's
if you
like
send
that
him to.
everywhere,
You're
though.
sending him to like a private, like fucking ultra magnet kindergarten, if that's the case.
Well, yeah, it was just the case.
Well, no one gives a fuck about how you going to private school. Of course, that shit's gonna be expensive. What the fuck?
No, but there's no other in Manhattan. There's no real other choice, my friend.
Yeah. Wait, are there not like public kindergartens?
No, they're not. I mean, there may be some. There may be some, but like
There's
they're
no
not,
public schooling in Manhattan.
Of
There
course,
are,
there's
there
public
are.
schooling in Manhattan, but it's not the public schooling that you want.
just
your
doesn't
daughter-
wanna
Oh, okay,
send his
yeah,
kid
okay.
there. That's
You
what
want
he's
the
getting at.
yeah, you want to send your kids to a private school. Okay.
I mean, well, I'm just complaining because maybe in California, well, California is a bad example, but maybe in the suburbs, right?
Mhm.
You could actually get a lot. You could get private schools. Public schools are actually a lot better than in Manhattan. Public schools are not the best.
Yeah, but in California, that's built into the house price. Like people will, if you live 2 blocks over from a good public school, you're paying like 25% less for your house because people build that in. Like one city, you walk like 200 feet, and it's 25% cheaper for the exact same house because you can't go to the same school that someone 100 feet over goes to. So it's already built into the house price.
I mean, look, I went to public school my whole life. I went to a public college. My education was free, okay? And honestly, I don't mean to change the subject, but like I have a big problem, and like I think that the next version of the mortgage crisis is the student loan crisis. I mean, that's gonna be just as bad as the mortgage crisis, not worse.
Man, I don't know, dude. The more I used to be like so against it, but the more I look into it, I don't know anymore, man. I really wonder. Fuck, that's like the next big area that I want to do a ton of research in.
What do you mean, like?
You get paid a lot of fucking money for having a 4-year degree in the United States. There is a huge premium attached to getting a 4-year degree in the US, assuming it's not like liberal arts or something. So like if you have to take out, $150K or whatever, which is I think like on the higher end, that's if you're going like out of state school and everything. Like if you've got to take out that much money to get a degree, but your earnings have been boosted 20, 30, 40, 50K a year as a result, like I don't know, that seems like a good fucking investment. Like even if it takes you 10 years to pay it back, like you took out a loan and you got a big education, but now you're getting like sick fucking work on top of it, and now you're getting paid for it like hardcore. Like I don't know if I think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Wait, you actually think that getting a 4-year degree in the United States is actually such an advantage?
It's a huge advantage. Holy shit, it is. Yeah,
degree?
It's like a 20K starting average earnings. If you compare the median wages of 4-year degree earners versus people with only high school, it's like 58K to like 28K or something. It's a huge boost. Yeah,
58K actually puts you in income-based repayment.
Okay.
You know what that means, right?
You qualify for lower repayments because you're not making enough yet?
Well, that means that you actually get to pay the minimum because you don't actually qualify to actually start paying the actual rate. What I'm talking about from the perspective of the banks and the underwriters of these loans.
Well, the underwriters, I mean, you can't discharge the loans through bankruptcy, so it's not like these loans are going anywhere.
Wait a minute. And what's the rate of
default?
Yeah, exactly.
It's getting
That's all that
huge. It's really high now.
Wait. The rate of default on student loans, it's I want to say
Isn't it like
20%.
I thought it was like up to 30 or 40%. Oh,
yeah,
holy
well,
shit.
yeah.
I thought it grew substantially recently, or maybe it grew 30%.
It's 15.6 now, I think.
What is it?
15.6 now, I think.
Okay. Now that is a high default rate right there. And that does not include income-based repayment. Because income-based repayment is actually the worst case, the second to worst case scenario for the actual bondholder. Like banks, like. So the whole thing about like free education is actually like I think is a complete meme, but I do think that like the underwriters of student loans should be the government or government entities and not private banks, because the private banks sell it to pension funds, and then pension funds they're gonna get screwed.
I haven't heard of that. I don't think are student loans really being like wrapped up into other type of investment vehicles like mortgages were? Is that actually happening right now?
Of course, it's happening. Wait, do you think that the loans stay in the belly of the banks? Of course not.
I'm not sure actually. I don't know, but I haven't heard of like student loans being like wrapped up into like other types of securities.
They repackage everything.
Bro,
All loans are repackaged into different bundles. It's the exact same thing as like the whole concept of a collateralized debt obligation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you repackage all of these loans into different tranches based off of risk profiles, blah blah blah, all that stuff. It's the same thing as what went on with the mortgages during the financial crisis. They do the exact same thing with all types of loans, auto loans, student loans.
Except there's one little tiny thing, right? You can literally assume that a mortgage that people can default on the mortgage, and then you are screwed. But the thing is that, like Destiny, like you said, right? If you go bankrupt, you actually can't get rid of the student loans, right? So that actually gives it like a fake higher credit rating. That in reality, I could like stop paying my student loan. It doesn't mean that it's gonna go away. But if I stop paying my student loan, it's basically the same thing as me having a default, right?
Yeah, I mean, I defaulted the fuck out of my loans for like 5 years. Yeah.
Right. And are they paid off already?
Yeah, I called in and I made a deal when they got sold to collections.
Oh, you actually made a deal. Okay. I mean,
I told them that I got a big inheritance from my uncle, and that I think I had like $25K that I owed, and I told them that if they let me pay it all off at once, I could give them the money now if they would wipe it all. And I think for $15,000, they let me make 3 $5,000 payments, and I paid it all off. It felt good.
But I mean, $25K is nothing.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Compared to some people, yeah, it's a lot higher.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, like especially when you go to law school. I mean, like it's just, or like med school.
Mm-hmm. Well, but like if you go to law school or med school and you graduate, I don't think there's a problem with having a lot of debt there.
But I already explained this to you. A lot of people who go to law school don't actually get jobs as lawyers where they make, the median salary that lawyers make.
Well, the median is the median for a reason. Point. It's not like 99% of people are making under the median,
it's
right?
Because they're people who skew it.
Well, no, that's the whole point of a median. It's not an average. It's a median.
Stop. Mean and median. Median is non-skewed. I mean,
yeah, that's the whole point of a median. Is to not be skewed by like the outliers.
Right. But no, I'm just saying that, like med school, right? I mean, med school is insane because you actually don't make any money for like 8 years after that.
Yeah, it's a long time. But then like what is the median salary of like a surgeon? Isn't it like 400K or some shit?
That's why I'm not.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 187K.
Well, first of all, you chose the highest payer. That's actually good for your point.
Okay, what about general practitioner median salary?
Well, second of all, it actually widely depends on the area. Like if you're in New York, you get paid half of what you get paid in Florida, for instance, right? And believe it or not, and also you have to figure like 4 to 5 years of fellowships and residency. Mm-hmm. But like, I say median probably like $200,000 a year or $220,000 a year.
Wait, what did you just say? Say that again.
Like $220,000 a year.
What about it?
For like a fully graduate, for like after your fellowship, like the median income of a doctor.
Okay. Wait, what is the point of this?
You asked. I'm telling you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, gotcha. Okay. I don't know if you were making a broader point, but sure. But I mean, like, if you become a doctor, I think it's okay to like pay back like student loans. Like, it was worth it, right? Your education paid off, right? If you have that job at the end.
Well, I mean, tell it to doctors that literally are just graduating, and honestly, it's not as easy as it used to be. Like they have, like you had $25,000 in loans, right? Some doctors graduate with $250,000 in loans.
Okay,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, but they also go on to make a lot of money. These are the highest earners in our society.
But eventually.
Yeah, that's why it's called an investment, Nico. What do you mean?
No, it's not. Listen. So $250,000, right?
Yeah.
5 years of not paying that at 10% interest. Next thing you know, now you owe almost 310, right?
It's still an investment, though.
If you default on it, that doesn't change the fact that it's an investment, though.
No, I'm just saying that yes, it's an investment, but it actually makes people less likely to want to go to med school because like it's very risky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree. Maybe some of the incentives might be off, and that it discourages some people from going in that might otherwise go in. But
I mean,
like you're paid. Like doctors are compensated for the risk of med school, right? We agree with that. Like there is compensation for that risk in the form of salaries. You get paid a fuck ton of money in the U.S. if you're a doctor or a lawyer, right?
Well, I mean, fuck ton of money is relative, right? I mean, I don't.
Well, relative to the cost of your loan, you get paid a fuck ton of money as a doctor.
You could, yeah, you could. You could, but being a doctor, it's a huge time investment. Like like that. I'm not like my mom, my father, my brother, my grandparents. They're all doctors. Like I'm the black sheep. Like my brother just graduated, and now he's finally starting to make some money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to pay off all his student loans so he will stop having panic attacks.
Dude, you got taken for a ride. What the fuck?
No, he's my fucking brother, and like. But
why
like,
the fuck do you have to pay for his fucking? Is he gonna give you his brain after he dies, so you can be a fucking doctor too? What the fuck?
No, because he's my fucking brother.
Oh, fuck all that shit. No, I'm not even gonna say I admire you for it. Fuck all that shit. But listen,
Are you an only child?
No, I got like 5 fucking brothers and sisters. I don't talk to any of them. Fuck that shit.
Okay, well, I thought. Well,
I'm an American. I'm my own island. Okay, I live on my own. I've been on my own since I was 16. I don't got all that family bullshit. Fuck all that. Fuck all that noise. Nobody paid for any of my shit growing up, so fuck. They can figure their own shit out, all right?
That's a great attitude, but it's okay.
Listen, I know you said, what are you, French or whatever, and your wife is Cuban, you said, or some shit?
Wait, why would I be French?
I don't fucking know. Does he sound French? Am I crazy? Dan.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
Oh, Argentina, whatever. Some Spanish bullshit. Listen, you Hispanic
Whoa,
people, all right?
whoa, relax,
Listen, you guys
relax.
have all your family bullshit. Okay, I've been with my Cuban family. I see all that family bullshit. But you know what? My European roots are strong. I'm a goddamn American, all right? I don't do that family bullshit. I live on my own, okay? There you go.
Man, I understand. I got it. Wait, how about the other guys? Are you guys actually? Well, nobody's American. Doesn't exist.
I'm American. I am American. I put that down as my ethnic background too. I say American, and when they say Native American, I say fuck no, just American. All right.
So wait, Destiny, are you a demo? What are you? Are you a demo? Are you a demo? What are you?
I guess
what's
I'd be
your story?
considered probably like a. Do you know like what a progressive is in the United States?
Yeah, I know progressive is, but like I'm saying, so unfortunately, there are 2 boxes in this stupid country: Democrat and Republican, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm guessing you're a Democrat, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because when they ask me, I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. Why do I have to choose between Democrat and Republican? That's like saying, are you a socialist or a Nazi? Like, I'm neither. Fuck you, right?
Well, I mean,
Call
you
yourself
got to
a
vote, right?
interest?
Well, no, I don't have to vote because I don't agree with. I don't agree with neither.
Yeah, but one side is better than the other, so you kind of have to pick one at the end of the day, right?
Well, see, I live in New York, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Like you, I mean, that's for you doesn't matter either because you live in California, right?
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, I still have to encourage my people to vote and everything. And ideologically, I'd rather have Democrats running everything than Republicans right now.
God damn it, fucking Trump! I swear to God. So
do you have any Republican views there, Nico?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Me? Do I have any Republican views?
Is there any parts of the Republican ideology that you agree with, or are you?
Yes.
What are they? Tell me.
I definitely
Hey,
agree.
gay people. Oh no,
with,
here it comes.
With actually not even a little bit. I'm half gay, so I definitely agree with a smaller government. Like like to me, like that's to me is I say very very important, and then I'm in favor of lower taxes for the rich because I don't like paying taxes.
Okay, well, he's just honest.
Well, no, I mean I'm being very honest. I mean you asked me right now. The rest of the stuff, like I can't identify with anything else. No.
Okay.
But and besides, are those even Republican values? Not anymore, right?
Are there Republican what?
Like what I just mentioned, are there Republican values?
Oh, Republican values?
Yeah, but not anymore, right? I mean,
like, yeah, of course there are, right?
yeah. How about you then? I mean, you're a Democrat, Republican. Where are you?
Yeah, I would say I'm a Democrat.
I'm a Democrat because my wife actually registered me to vote, and she put that I'm a Democrat. That's why I'm a Democrat.
Nice.
Because she's a big Democrat, right? But in terms of actually, like, I'm not a conservative at all. Like, I'm the opposite of a conservative. I think that everybody should do whatever the fuck they want, and nobody should actually give a shit about other people. Like that's just, if you want to be gay, and you want to get married, it's not like married life is like the best thing in the world. I don't know why you want to get married, but if you want to get married, get married. It's up, it's up to you. And definitely you're a Democrat, and then you also Democrat, right?
Yep, that's right.
But do you have any values that are Republican that you identify with?
I don't think so.
So you want a bigger government?
I think I like the government kind of where it is at this point, and I know that Republicans would want it exponentially smaller. So, I mean, I think I definitely there's things that I don't agree with on Democrats, but I don't think that would make me Republican just because there's stuff along those lines.
And you love paying taxes?
No, I don't like paying taxes, but like, what are the alternative? I would like to have like a different taxing strategy. I don't like the tax strategy that there is right now. I think that it, especially in the financial sector of stocks, I think that it greatly causes the government to lose revenue. I think capital gains in general is bullshit and should be removed. I think that the amount of high frequency trading is bullshit. It should be stopped. Yeah, a lot of that stuff. None of that is Republican.
Do you know what the sad truth is? The sad truth is that you probably pay less taxes as a percentage of your income than any of my assistants.
What does that mean?
That means that, like...
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's talking about your effective tax rate.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes.
It depends on, like long-term capital gains and taking advantage of that stuff. It's, it's fucked. I don't like the tax system we have right now. Destiny hasn't done the research, so he can't shit talk it yet. But I'm a flat taxer. I think there's a way to do it.
Oh my god.
Fuck off. Nah, wrong. You haven't done the research. Debate me. I haven't done enough either. But yeah.
I mean, taxes is a very complicated thing because honestly, I mean, for instance, like the Trump tax cut. Oh my god, that was the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Like,
why? You should be happy for that, aren't you?
I am not happy for that at all.
Why not?
Because it was actually a tax increase.
For who?
For individuals.
For which ones? I thought that really wealthy people generally made out okay on that.
Well, no, corporations, not wealthy people, corporations. If you are a couple that make $1 million a year, and you work on a W-2, you got so fucked by this tax cut. It's not even funny.
Well, yeah, but if you're making $1 million a year and all your income is W-2, what the fuck are you doing anyway?
Well, I mean, doctors, right?
Well, fuck them. Listen,
lawyers.
Invest your money, okay? Takes 401ks, Roth IRAs, fucking move that money around.
But that's the thing. That's like all of your loopholes. I mean, not even loopholes. Like a lot of the advantages. Like for instance, I live in New York, right? Mm-hmm. I can no longer how much money I pay for New York and city taxes, and now I can't deduct it from my federal. That's a big deal.
Oh shit! Don't even fucking talk to me about that, Rico. I live in fucking LA and I can't deduct my state taxes against my fucking federal anymore. That shit fucking irritates the fuck out of me. I have no idea why the fuck.
I just said that.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I said.
Yeah, I know, but the state taxes are fucking.
You don't pay a lot more than me on.
No, I know, I don't. But like, I'm pretty sure my state tax rate is it higher in LA than it is in New York? I don't actually know.
Well, I know that Manhattan, I think, has a 3.5%.
No. Manhattan has a 3.5%. And then it has a 1.5. Like if you live in Manhattan, if you live in New York City, it's a 3.5. Manhattan has its own fucking tax for education, but the schools are shit, so I have to pay that, and I have to pay private schools.
What's your New York state tax? Do you know?
My New York state tax, yeah, it's almost like 9%.
Okay, because I think my California state taxes on that come out to be about 9%. I think.
Yeah, but then you have, put it this way, it's almost 17% on top of my federal income tax. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of that. That hurts.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Move to Florida.
I want to move to I want to move to Austin. I want to move to Texas. I'm staying here for a few more months to see if it works. But yeah, fuck me, dude. That state tax is brutal.
But then you live in Texas. That's a problem.
Well, for streaming, that's not a problem because a lot of the streamers are in Austin now, or in Texas. So.
Oh well, that is true. For streaming, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But
I like LA though. Yeah, you're right. You have to live in Texas. if streamers didn't live in Austin, I would never fucking go to Austin. Fuck that shit. Yeah. Even if I like to go out, I would never go to fucking Austin. But yeah.
Yeah, you get banned because of titties, right?
I wasn't thinking of that, but...
Wait, where did that come from?
Wait, what the fuck? Wait, hold on. Well, now I want to go to Austin. Wait, what are you talking about?
Wait, stop.
Are there boobies in Austin?
John Cerca.
Oh, shit.
I said you get banned because of the boobies.
Gotcha, okay.
Gotcha. Wasn't he so excited to go to Texas, and the poor dude went to Texas, and his whole life fell apart? I feel so bad for that.
What do people mean by an ear for jazz? Well, pop music is ultra hyper over manufactured to sound good to the widest variety of people possible. So if you turn on the radio, that's like going to be your greatest chance of finding something that sounds okay to you. And then like moving away from pop music, like stuff becomes gradually less accessible depending on how far away you get from it. So like there are forms of electronic music that are easy to listen to. There's forms of rock that are easy to listen to. Forms of metal, forms of whatever, big band and swing music and kind of jazz music. But like the deeper and deeper and deeper you go into these like genres of music, the more kind of like prerequisite hearing you have to do to become to get the acquired like ear to appreciate like something like that deep in. So like for instance, like the deep, like there's a lot of like really deep jazz stuff you can go into where listening to it like a normal person would just hear it as garbage. And this is true of like every genre of music. Like for like extreme, like for certain genres of metal, like you listen to it and it's garbage. For certain genres of rap, even when you talk about stuff like death grips and stuff, to people that haven't listened to a lot of that kind of stuff, it can sound like garbage. Or glitch music, or certain types of electronic music, or any of the 50 trillion different subgenres of electronic shit. Is it necessary to know / study music to identify good stuff? It depends on what you mean by good. I mean, like, in my opinion, good music is music that you enjoy. But I mean, good music could be music that's like made that's like of a certain level of complicatedness, or that utilizes some instrument in a special way, or that furthers like, I don't know, good can mean a lot of different things. You don't need to study any particular art to enjoy a particular art. Sometimes studying art can give you a greater appreciation for it, or can help you discover more art that you might enjoy even more, or make you enjoy something that you previously wouldn't have enjoyed. So I mean, like, I think that studying art is good. Like, you can get a deeper perspective, but you don't need to enjoy it. You also don't necessarily need to understand like the underlying mechanisms of something in order to critique it or enjoy it as well. So like, for instance, like you could be like a good music critic, I think, without having to like know music theory or like know how to do composition. Like, yeah. I think Fantano did a video once because I think people were asking him that. When you say you're a libertarian, what exactly do we mean by that?
I find myself more socially liberal, more financially conservative. I subscribe to capitalism and free market, but I also believe that people should be allowed to pursue their own happiness as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
Okay, so let's do policy positions. So if we look at something like healthcare, you think that some form of like universal healthcare would probably be a good idea in the United States?
To what extent? Like, are we talking full-on all healthcare free across the board, or do you think some kind of mercy care for those at the lowest financial levels that can't afford it get basic healthcare?
So I think like maybe expanding Medicaid, so you'd have some kind of public option that like everybody in the United States is capable of buying into, provided by the government, similar to like other European countries that use multi-payer systems.
Would they be allowed to choose whether or not they subscribe to this, or does that mean everybody on board now has to pay their taxes into that?
I mean, I would imagine that if you wanted to get supplemental private insurance, you'd be able to, but there would definitely be some tax increase associated with making the Medicare for all work.
I mean, like, obviously you want everyone to be healthy, but is that even financially doable?
I mean, it seems like every other country in the West has kind of figured this out, no?
Have they? I mean, there's issues. There's a lot of issues with, like, waiting lists, and if the government has to pay for everyone's health care, then they might be more likely to create regulation on your lifestyle. Like, they don't, hey, if you're overweight or smoke, that means you have more health concerns and we don't want to pay for that. So we're going to ban smoking. We're going to ban these kinds of foods because, you know, I think it's kind of like leads in that direction. The more the government takes care of you, the more rules they have to kind of exact upon your personal life.
I mean, there's a lot there. So firstly, that already kind of happens in the private markets. So for instance, if you're obese or if you smoke, you already have to pay a penalty for that, right? So this is already something that is priced into private markets, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. You're going to cost more.
And then I would argue that like there are waiting list problems in other countries for sure, but those problems are nowhere near as big as the problems that we have in our healthcare industry. Like the fact that like so many millions of people are either uninsured or dramatically underinsured, or that people have like difficulty meeting large medical expenses or have to make medical decisions based on the amount of like financial availability, which is like pretty crazy.
Yeah. Do you think though, the more government pays into it, the just overall cost of healthcare is going to go up? Same way, the more that the government subsidizes education, the cost of education goes up. So
it seems like there are things that we can do for for healthcare in the United States, costs, like the two big things that I'm familiar with for cost reduction is that one, the federal government should probably have some ability to schedule drug prices, like what happens in other European countries. So like just saying like, hey, this drug or this particular treatment will cost this particular dollar amount. That's one thing. And then the second thing is that having like a single payment option or like a public option that a lot of people use would hopefully dramatically reduce the overhead of a lot of like insurance consumption. So like for instance, when I go to the hospital, there's a huge bureaucratic establishment in place for like processing insurance claims, and then hopefully like there would be some cost saved in getting rid of that infrastructure.
I see. So just kind of like an overall, we don't need these employees anymore, so we don't have to pay for it. I mean, like, obviously I'm not as educated in a lot of these matters. It's more of like the principle of, obviously I don't really like the idea of very high taxes and less choice, personal like freedoms. But
when you say like you don't like the idea of like high taxes, I guess the question would be like, why? Like, what do you value? Like, what's important to you?
Personal choice, freedom to what I want. I want to be able to, like, I'm money motivated. I want to be able to come up with ideas to make my living and not worry like, oh, I have to pay 50% of this in taxes so somebody else can just, you know, not do anything, be comfortable without putting anything into the system. You know, those horror stories, not horror stories, but you hear once in a while the stories of like women who will have babies and live off of welfare and do it like almost like it's a job. Like, I'm going to see how much money I can milk out of the system, as many kids as I can have so I can get a paycheck off of it. I don't like the encouragement
Most women
of that.
don't make money off welfare. That's
yeah, I'm
not
sure.
a thing.
Well, hey, chill. Yeah, I mean, like in general, it probably doesn't happen that much. I mean, I'm sure it happens every now and then, but I mean, that's...
And I'm sure it's like a state-to-state thing. In like California, you're obviously going to make a lot more money off of welfare than Arizona, where I'm from.
Maybe, yeah. I guess the reason why I bring up like, well, like what's the like what is like the value is because like sometimes I hear like people like, oh, like I value freedom and all of that, but it seems like I don't know if those things are like are actually, or at least for me, like I don't really value like freedom. Like I look at it as like a means to an end. So like if you show me a free world where people can freely choose like between different ways to die versus a world where you have little freedom but like you're guaranteed to live, like I would opt for the latter rather than the former. So like if you have some world where I'm free to choose from 50 million things, but I either don't have the ability to get like what I really need, or like my outcomes are severely reduced because all of my choices are shit, I think I'd rather be in the world with less choice that like takes care of me better.
Do you think that right now in America, the more choice is that bleak, that we don't have choice between happiness, that it's really just ways to die? Or do you see that as more of like a impending outcome if we continue down the path? Like a dystopia?
Yeah, for certain things in the United States, I would say so. So like for right now, like I think that our healthcare is like unacceptably horrible compared to the rest of the world. Like it's a little embarrassing for me to go to other countries. Like me and my buddy were in Sweden a while ago, and for her to get an STD test and checked up and everything cost her absolutely nothing. And then when I came to the US, it's like $150. And then if I have to get drugs, anything, it's like 200 more, depending on what. Like, that's kind of embarrassing. Or like I went to the hospital a while ago to get like a biopsy to check like a mole or whatever. And like the doctor literally asked me, he's like, I'd recommend getting this checked, but if you don't have the money for it, you know, like maybe there's an option 6 months down the road. So like getting, whether or not I want to see if I have cancer comes down to like how much money I have. Like this is like a question, like I can do it because I'm wealthy as fuck. It doesn't matter. But like for a poorer person, like they literally have to make life and death decisions like on a table based on like how much money they make. I think that's pretty sad for countries rich as ours. I don't think that should ever happen.
At the same time, though, people in Sweden are paying what's the tax rate over there? I know my friend in France, he is at the poorest income level. He still pays like 45% in taxes every single month. So that 200 that it would have cost him to get a biopsy, he's already paid that in full every month.
Yeah, but the difference is that the poorest people over there have a lot more basic services covered than what exists in the U.S. Like, nobody in France is going bankrupt because of, like, a medical payment. Whereas in the United States, if you run into something like that, like, you're just fucked.
Yeah, so anecdotally, I don't even have insurance. I always pay out of pocket. I don't get sick that often, so I'm willing to not pay insurance and then pay a bigger amount up front, or see if I can't negotiate. I slipped a disc couple years back, so I just reached out on Facebook, and someone referred me to his friend who is a chiropractor and back surgeon. He literally fixed me for free over the weekend. He just popped my back, gave me some B12 shot and an icy hot thing, and was like, hey, here, do this, that, and the other, and you're fine.
Wait, when you say slip the disc, what are you talking about?
I was doing squats at the gym and my back just went crack and I was basically paralyzed for a couple days. I couldn't move. It didn't bulge, but like one of my discs went, when your back kind of locks up, you can't bend forward, backward.
Okay.
It wasn't, obviously didn't need surgery, but I still needed to see a specialist. I had to get x-rays taken and I had to be kind of adjusted back into place. And
how much did the x-rays cost?
It didn't cost me anything.
Wait, why not?
Because my friend had a friend who was a chiropractor, had a clinic. He just opened up his clinic on the weekend when it was normally closed and just saw me and just did it for free because he's like, oh, I owe him a favor. So he just took care of it.
Okay, so there are two huge things that are going on here that I have a problem with, okay? The first thing is what you're describing to me sounds like the Soviet Union, which is where the only way that you could get like good medical treatment is if you knew a guy, basically, or if you wanted to pay more for it. Like they had like a pretty shitty two-tiered medical system when they were trying to promise healthcare to everyone. So that it kind of sounds like that. And then the second thing is like, do you think it's reasonable that everybody will have like a friend of a friend that can get them into like a medical clinic for free x-rays? Like x-rays are pretty expensive to get with no insurance.
Right. That I don't know. I feel like, everyone has a community, a circle. They know someone who knows somebody to some extent, but
I think that we can both say it's probably, I mean, when I was poor growing up, I didn't know anybody that could get me free x-rays. I don't know how common that is, right?
Right, that could have just been pure luck, just knowing somebody.
Yeah. But like, if you wouldn't have known that person, like, how fucked would you have been? Like,
I would have probably just paid the cost of the x-rays.
Do you think that like for somebody that couldn't absorb that cost, so they might be like dramatically fucked?
Yeah, now let's talk about the cost of x-rays. Why, like, I don't really know. Why are x-rays so expensive?
There's so many different fucking answers for why shit is expensive in the United States, and I'm not a specialist on healthcare, so it's hard for me to give you like being honest. I can give you one excuse that I hear cited quite often for the high cost of medical like stuff in the United States. So whether that's drugs or tests or seeing a doctor, is because insurance kind of inflates the fuck out of a lot of the prices. So like insurances create like this weird, I think it's called a moral hazard, where like you'll consume a lot of medical services without thinking about it, and you don't do any price shopping related to it. So like basically you go to a hospital, you never really ask the cost of an x-ray because your insurance is going to take care of it anyway, et cetera, et cetera. And then like the prices of like everything get like really fucking inflated as a result of that.
Right. Would you say private insurance is to blame just as much as government issued health insurance or health insurance?
Well, the difference is that like I think with the government we can actually set prices.
So like cap it, say, hey, you can't charge this much.
Yeah, I think like that's sometimes like for instance like the NHS with the United Kingdom, like they're allowed to set prices. Things like, hey, we're going to pay this much for this thing, period. Whereas like in the United States, we've actually specifically disbarred, I think Medicare and Medicaid from being able to negotiate prices on drugs. I don't know why we've done, well, the Republicans do it, but like.
And I know that there's a huge issue, like MRIs are extremely expensive because for some reason that technology is patented to a point where they have a complete monopoly on the MRI machine, so they just charge everyone.
Well, I don't think MRI machines are all patented, right? Like, and it seems like other, I think that like other countries seem like they can give X-rays without having like people. It's really frustrating to talk about this because I feel like every other country has this figured out. Like, I don't know why in the United States, like, we can't just do this in like a socialized medicine kind of way. Like, I'm a big capitalist and I love free markets, but it seems like this is just something that markets just don't have good solutions for. I mean, like, and it seems weird to like stress over it so much, like, and figure out a possible solution when like every other country in the world, like every other OECD country seems to have these solutions, like have this figured out. Like, healthcare isn't a big problem for these people.
The healthcare cost doesn't seem to be a big problem. What is the quality like though?
Better than ours.
American doctors not as good as overseas? Where's the best place to get healthcare?
Best healthcare outcomes in the world. Overall rank, the United Kingdom, so the NHS that I said it earlier is rank 1, Switzerland is rank 2, Sweden is 3, 4 is Australia, 5 is
And this is outcome, correct? Like success and
I don't know if this is just outcome. My guessing is that this is probably an index. And my guess is that the reason why the United States is probably rated so poorly is because we have such poor access to care. That's going to be my guess, but I don't know 100%. Oh, the U.S. ranked last on performance overall and ranked last or near last on the access, administrative efficiency, equity, and healthcare outcomes domains. I do know that if you look up particular U.S. healthcare outcomes, though, they're not really that great, and some of them are pretty sad too. Like our infant mortality is like pretty high, like embarrassing.
Really?
I think. Yeah, like really weird things. Our lifespan is also not that great. Like, yeah, we don't really. If we did like really well, then like maybe I'd be a little bit more charitable to the U.S. system, but we don't.
Right.
And we also pay more, like as like our expenditure per capita is insane. Like per capita, we're paying $8,500 versus like the rank 1 system, the UK, they pay $3,400.
Okay.
Yeah, so like we pay more than any other country for our healthcare as a percentage of spending per GDP, and we don't have like any good outcomes for it. It seems insane.
When you say we pay, you mean us as individuals paying, or our taxation, like
our overall payment of the country, like how much money is going towards that industry? So a combination of taxes and personal.
Okay. Do you think that the fact that the UK might be like it has much smaller population than us has anything to do with that? Because I know a lot of people try to compare us to, like, say, Denmark in a lot of issues, but I think it's a false comparison, seeing as Denmark is very homogenous and it has a much smaller population. It's hard to make those comparisons.
I mean, I don't think UK is that much smaller than ours. Like, I think our population is around 330 million, and they're like 66 million. Like, it's a pretty big country. I don't see why, like, we wouldn't be able to scale healthcare in a similar way that they have. Like, it seems like we should be able to work it.
Yeah, healthcare is not my forte.
Sure.
Absolutely. I don't know. I want that. Like, I obviously want people to be taken care of, but I also don't want people forced into pay. I understand that insurance.
Wait, why not though?
System. Why not?
Yeah.
So
like, here's a problem right now, okay? So are you familiar with the Affordable Care Act mandate, the Obamacare mandate that made it so we had to pay, or we pay a penalty?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
So I'm a relatively healthy person. I don't have any medical problems, and I don't have any fucking health insurance, and I'm never gonna buy health insurance because I don't give a fuck. I don't think I need it, right? But the problem is that for the people that do need it, when people like me aren't involved in these healthcare pools, those people end up getting fucked. You need healthy people like me inside of those health pools in order to lower the overall cost to everybody inside of it, right?
Right, you need everybody to pay in.
Yeah. And now without that mandate, well, I'm no longer paying in, so those people all kind of get fucked, and then I just scoot by and I'm fine. But it seems like kind of a little bit fucked that, like, so like I wasn't born with diabetes, I don't have like ALS or Parkinson's or any crazy shit, like I'm fine. And now all those other people just kind of get fucked because they're not lucky, and then I get to sit on all my money and fly around the world and do whatever. And I don't know, it just seems like a little bit fucky in terms of outcomes, no?
Yeah, but I mean, so this mandate, it's kind of interesting because, like, I am told, you know, when I do my taxes and they ask if I have insurance, I say no. And I say why, and I say because I don't want it. They say, okay, we waived your fee, so I don't even get a penalty.
Wait, oh, I mean, I think the penalty I think is scales with income.
I don't know. It's so, like, that's the thing about this whole, like, Obamacare thing. It's so, like, hard to understand. It's not very clear. It's just like, huh? What? I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure, like, the penalty, well, yeah, there might have been a grace period, and then I'm also sure the penalty scales with income, because I think it's 2% of your income, and the penalty was removed by Trump. For this tax year, I believe there's no penalty, but I'm pretty sure there was one for last tax year. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Was there? Because my chat's saying there's no penalty. I don't know who's right.
The penalty was removed, I think, 2 years ago, but I think it applied for the 2018 tax year. But for this 2019 tax year, there won't be a penalty.
Okay, so they've just completely removed that.
Although, since we live in California, California is reinstating a penalty of their own, so we'll still have to pay.
See people getting interested in physics with the idea that we're going to send people to space, but also that this interest isn't going to suddenly drop off because it means that we're not going to necessarily do it in the next 20 years.